What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to examine Uncanny X-Men issue 133, brought to you by these fine folks. Not a whole lot happens in this issue. A few issues ago, I mentioned that the Dark Phoenix saga can basically be divided into three separate parts. You have the White Queen and her goons attacking the X-Men while they are split up trying to recruit Kitty Pryde and Dazzler. And then you have the X-Men kind of doing a counter-assault on the rest of the Hellfire Club. That's where we're at right now. And then you get all the stuff in space with the Shi'ar Imperial Guard later on. And I feel like they knew where they were going, especially at this part in the story, and they wanted to just prolong this middle section a little bit. So not a whole lot happens here. The X-Men have been captured. We get to see them from Jean's point of view, and Jean has been fully taken over by Mastermind, who has now joined the Hellfire Club. His initiation into this group was the defeat of the X-Men by corrupting Jean with his illusion powers. We do find out his powers are much more powerful here than they used to be when he fought the X-Men in the 60s. Cyclops even asks him, how is he able to do this? And we basically get a, I'm not going to tell you. But we found out here that when Jean and Cyclops were together on that butte in Arizona, that they developed a permanent psychic rapport with each other. And Cyclops is now trying to use that to help free Jean from Mastermind's control. But Mastermind is there on the psychic plane with Jean, and then he seemingly kills Cyclops. And of course, we know that that's not actually the case, but it certainly seems like it in this issue. Meanwhile, we see Wolverine tussle with a few Hellfire goons. As far as Chris Claremont and John Byrne were concerned, Wolverine was intended to kill these guys. But Jim Shooter, the editor-in-chief, he did not think that anyone on a superhero team should willingly kill like that. Now, years later, Jim Shooter said he didn't have a problem with characters killing, but he did say if they are going to kill, that there should be consequences for that. And I agree with that. But Shooter said in this issue that Wolverine was killing people who couldn't do him any harm. And I will argue with that a little bit. I've talked about this before. I will argue that at this time, Wolverine's healing factor was not what it became years later. When we get to the Mutant Massacre a few years down the line, we are told that Wolverine, if you shot him a whole bunch of times and then he just kept going and was fighting an entire army, that he would not be giving his healing factor enough time to heal him, and it could kill him. And here he's only against, I think, 3 or 4 Hellfire goons, and one of them shoots him pretty bad. Now, he is able to bounce back from it, but Wolverine was not, he was in danger in this situation, and he did need information on where the other X-Men were. So I don't think that Wolverine was just callously killing these guys with a smile on his face. He certainly didn't mind killing them, but I don't think that he is the psychopath that Jim Shooter was making him out to be, just killing people for no reason. He definitely, there was a method to Wolverine's madness in this scene. But these guys who Wolverine seemingly killed, they will show up years later, working for Donald Pierce, who is part of the Hellfire Club here, as the first Reavers. So even though these guys are seemingly no-name characters, I think Cole and Reese are a couple of them, they are some of the first Reavers. Now, the Reavers, I think there were actually like 5 or 6 of them, so I don't know where the others came from, because I'm pretty sure there's not that many here that Wolverine fights. But this was, John Byrne, legend has it, that he wanted Wolverine to be a well-liked character. People did not like Wolverine because he's a bit of a jerk to the other X-Men, and John Byrne, a Canadian, wanted the only Canadian superhero, and he predated Alpha Flight. Alpha Flight are superheroes, even though we don't know much about them yet, but he wanted what was at the time the only Canadian superhero to be represented a little better. And so even here we can see that there's a little bit more to Wolverine than, grr, I don't like you guys, and I might kill you just as soon as look at you. Here, he's rough. He is willing to get a little bit dirty and kill people if he has to, but then we see that he's got a little bit of strategy in his approach in taking on the Hellfire Club. And so I kind of like that. We get a couple of interludes. We see Sean Cassidy, Banshee, talking with Maury McTaggart. She says that Jean Grey had subconsciously developed several psychic blocks to prevent herself from accessing her unlimited power. And now most of those blocks are gone. And of course, we know that Mastermind is the reason that those blocks have gone away. And then we get another interlude where Professor Xavier is talking to Angel, and he basically says that he resents Cyclops because he's trained Cyclops all these years to one day take over the X-Men, and now that that day has kind of come, Professor X isn't ready to let go. And he once again mentions that he is unable to reestablish his psychic connection with the X-Men. I do not know when that psychic connection went away. It must have happened at some point before they were presumed dead when they were in Antarctica, because Professor X didn't know where they were then. So that was before, that was around issue 110, I think. I can't remember, but it's been a little while that Professor X has not had a psychic connection with the X-Men. I don't know why it went away, other than Professor X would be able to figure out, oh, Jean is evil, I need to do something, and he'd be able to put a stop to this before it got out of hand. They don't want Professor X getting in the way of the story that they're wanting to tell, so Professor X is unable to establish his psychic connection. I do wish that there was a reason that Professor X wasn't able to establish his psychic connection, and as near as I can remember, there isn't one. Then, like I said, Cyclops, he has a duel with Mastermind on the psychic plane, and then he dies. We do also get a first mention of Senator Kelly, who is a guest of Sebastian Shaw here, and we are told he is a presidential candidate, and then Shaw tells the X-Men that the Hellfire Club scientists are going to experiment on the X-Men and try and isolate the mutant genes so that they can create mutants at will and then sell them to the highest bidder. So, as I have said before, the Hellfire Club, they are basically trying to take over the world, but in a little bit more of a covert way than your typical supervillains. They want to do it through commerce and politics and business, and in theory, I like that idea. I like the idea of supervillains who are different than your normal supervillains, but a lot of times, the Hellfire Club, they're just business people, and they're not as evil as what they are here. Now here, human experimentation, yeah, that's very evil, and then the X-Men are probably going to die in the process, yeah, that's evil. But later stories, it's like, hey, there's the Hellfire Club, let's fight, let's attack them, and I feel like they kind of lost a little bit of what made them potentially interesting. But here, we are seeing that they're kind of doing some of the stuff that you would think that Mr. Sinister would be up to about 10 years later. But there is no Mr. Sinister at this time, so we have evil scientists working for the Inner Circle. That's about it for this issue. Like I said, not a whole lot. This one is kind of just treading water until we can have the transition into the next part of this saga. So that's about it. So let's consider this issue examined.